Hello, welcome back to Fred in the Shed. I'm making this video just after Christmas 24 and before New Year. So I hope you had a lovely Christmas and Happy New Year, because this will be New Year by the time this hits the channel. Now, I must have been an exceptionally good boy throughout the year, because I was sent this wonderful Christmas present from EnginDIY.com or Engin DIY shop. Inside this box, which we'll be having a look at in a minute, is their very latest live steam model. If you're a regular to the channel, and thank you very much, you'll know that I've done a couple of models from EnginDIY.com and I've been very impressed with the quality. Also, they have a website. If you're into these models, or you think that you might be into these models, you just got to check out the website, guys. It is extraordinary, the level of detail they have in some of their models. We have steam models, petrol models, even jet engine models. You can lose yourself on your website, and I'll leave a link to their website down below. But this is the one they've sent in. The full name is RETROL SE-02. This is a live steam little model here, and here's a picture of it. And as you can see, we've got the boiler here and a flywheel. We have a reversing lever. We'll come down to that in a moment, because that's really quite interesting. And a little generator and a lamppost, which I imagine an LED light. So very similar along the lines of the Walesko kit. I think it was a D18 that I built. Now, if you've never done one of these before and you're a little bit apprehensive about putting one of these together, you really don't have to worry. The instructions, nothing is lost in translation, because there isn't really any translation. The instructions are very much, there is, yeah, okay, to be fair, there is some written translation. I will grant you that. But the instructions are very much pictorial. If you've ever made Lego and followed one of those Lego guides, you'll have no trouble with this. You just simply have to follow the pictures. Now, all of the major components, boiler, obviously, the engine itself, they're already constructed for you, and it's just a simple case of taking your time and bolting everything together. And I will show you that in this video. I will speed it up though, otherwise it will take me all day to make the video, but we will be able to see how easy it is to put together. Also, there are some very basic electrics, but the junction box here is just one of these like friction snap fits, and it's also color coded. You really can't go wrong. So there's no problem if you've never made one of these before. Now, there is an age limit on this, and it's going to be down to the alcohol burner. Alcohol burners need a bit of caution, because generally you can't see the flames if you use the correct alcohol, basically. And it is a 14 plus model kit, so if you are maybe thinking of building this with a grandchild or something, they will need some supervision when operating the model. Obviously, all of this is going to get very hot once you've lit the alcohol burner. Simple instructions, age 14 and above. One thing worth mentioning is the quality of the packaging from Engin DIY shop. So many times things are let down by cheap packaging, but as you can see here, everything has its own foam layer, and everything is very well packed. 10 out of 10 for the packaging. Now, the first thing that you notice when you open the box is the quality of the materials used here. I mean, just look at this, and we will have a look at this in closer detail in a moment, but this is the main engine itself, the piston housing and the conrod, and just look at this. I mean, it is wonderful. Everything is brass, and it's also looks like laser cut brushed stainless steel. This is just a quality that was never really available for any reasonable money. Now, these kits aren't cheap, but if you compare them to Walesko kits, which are really aimed at children, there's not that much difference in the price. And before China got involved with this manufacture process, this level of quality was just not available at a reasonable cost. I mean, look at this boiler. It's fantastic. I don't know if it's soldered. I think it's not. It might be threaded with a, yeah, I think it's threaded with a silicon seal there. I mean, just look at it. Absolutely fantastic. So I think what we need to do is just have a look at these components in slightly greater detail. They're definitely worth a second look. Let's have a closer look at some of these components because these are just amazing. This is the Stephenson's valve gear, or valve link, valve shifting link, if you like, because this is a double acting engine, and we can see that by these Spore valves here. As you can see, there's two indentations, so it's a double acting reversible steam engine. Now this valve gear wasn't actually invented by Robert Stephenson himself, although he did take credit for it. It was invented, in fact, by two of his employees around, I think it was 1845. They came up with this design. One was an engineer, one was a draftsman, might have been Williams or something. And before that, there was a much simpler design, a sort of a gab motion or a V-hook design. And they came up with this very, very ingenious design with this eccentric here. And unfortunately, like most things in life, they didn't get any credit. Stephenson claimed the patent and all of the money that was made afterwards, because this design here, the Stephenson's link, this was then adapted going forward from 1845, and it appeared pretty much on all steam locomotives and steam engines with this eccentric. But the quality we've got here, again, is absolutely amazing. This eccentric itself, hopefully you can see, there is a ball race ball bearing in there. It's all ball bearing with a brass eccentric, brushed, laser cut, stainless steel. Now, all of the bearing surfaces on this engine are ball bearing races, and this will mean that the engine should run very, very smoothly and also slowly. And a test to a model steam engine, or a test of how good it is how slowly you can run the engine without it stalling. And this one should run very, very smooth indeed. So I'm absolutely blown away by the quality. Here's the little reversing lever with, again, a solid brass handle, and that will control the forward and reverse motion. And again, with this linkage, which was so clever, it allowed steam engines to be switched on the fly from forward to reverse for shunting and things like that. But look at the quality of that, guys. Absolutely amazing. Let's have a closer look at the piston assembly itself. Here we have the heart of the engine, the piston assembly with the cylinder block. And as I mentioned, this is a double acting steam engine. A lot of the earlier and cheaper steam models that you can get, such as Mammoth, like the Mammoth Roadster, they're single acting oscillating steam engines, but this is a full double acting engine with that Spore valve assembly there. Now what I mean by double acting is that when the piston, which is in here with the conrod here, when this goes backwards and forwards, you not only get a single compression stroke like you would do on a gasoline engine, you have dual compression strokes here. So when the piston is drawn back, there will be compression, and then when it's pushed forward, there's also compression, and that is far more effective at transferring the steam into power. Very, very good. I mean, this is absolutely lovely. It's quite heavy in the hand. It's the cylinder head assembly here is solid brass with stainless steel fixings. We even have two little drain cocks here, and these will need to be bled when you first start the engine, because everything needs to be really, really hot for the steam to work. So this will be quite cold, and you will get condensation in the cylinder head here. So these steam cocks, one for each side of the piston, these steam cocks here allow the water vapour to be bled out of the engine, so you don't suffer hydraulic lock. And then once the engine is running, you can then close these, and then that will create compression. I mean, absolutely lovely. And also on the conrod here, again, we've got the other eccentric here, and again, it's really, really lovely made. It's solid brass and in there, which we can't really see, but there is another ball bearing race. Proper ball bearings. Absolutely blown away by the build quality. Let's have a quick look at the boiler. So here's our boiler. Heavy, quite heavy, and that's something that you notice with all the components of this kit. When it's fully built, it's going to weigh just over 2 kilograms. So it's quite substantial in weight. And again, I know I keep saying words like lovely and build quality, but this is really, really nice quality here. Even the steam regulator, and this will act as a throttle, is all brass. I imagine this is going to get quite hot though. They do supply a pair of tweezers, and I think once this is running, you are going to need to use tweezers to regulate the steam here, or throttle if you like. Definitely going to get warm, but this feels wonderful. Really, really smooth acting. And look at this whistle, guys. Just look at this. Again, made out of solid brass with a stainless steel handle there. Maybe, I don't know if there's one supplied, we might have to really put a bit of chain on this or something, because again, this is going to get very, very, very hot. Standard safety valve here. Now, I don't think this boiler would probably generate enough power, or enough steam pressure I should say, to explode. You must never let these run dry, of course, and in the sight glass you can see you've got 2 level indicators. You don't want to fill this completely full, because then you will end up with water going through the steam lines and you'll get hydraulic lock. So you probably fill it just over halfway, but when you do run these, you might get, I would guess, probably 15 minutes run time. You have to be careful because of the oiling system is a total waste. So you make sure you don't run dry, but you just want to make sure you keep the water halfway. But look at the sight glass there. Again, solid brass, upper and lower level. What a lovely piece of engineering. It's amazing what they've come up with, really, and how far this has become advanced. Really, really nice, that. Then we have the little generator or dynamo, and again, this feels like cast aluminium, and it's been powder coated in red, and the attention to detail is really, really good. I mean, we've got this solid brass hook here, because obviously if this was real sized, it would be a certain weight and it would be picked up by the brass hook. And even the connection plate where the 2 wires go in, they've finished this in a piece of brass with fake screws. Yeah, runs really, really smooth in the hand. How much power it's going to generate, I don't know. Maybe I should put, if I think about it, maybe I'll put a voltmeter on it. Let's have a look at the little light that comes with a motor. So here is the lamppost. Once again, they haven't skimped. They could have made this out of plastic. Probably people wouldn't have minded. But again, it's solid cast. It's cast in, looks like solid brass. So it looks like brass. I think it is. We've got a little LED bulb in there. Now that's one criticism I'm going to say. Because when we run the steam engine, LEDs, they sort of need a certain amount of voltage to start illuminating. So I imagine what we're going to get when we run the steam engine slower, and I like to run my engines quite slow, but I've got a feeling we're going to have to crank up the speed to get enough voltage for the LED to shine brightly. If they'd have used a small little incandescent light bulb, like a grain of wheat light bulb or something, then as the engine built up speed, it would glow dimly and it would get brighter and it wouldn't flicker. And I've got a feeling that would have looked a bit more authentic. I suppose you could, if you measured the voltage, you could swap it out, but it's what it is. But yeah, I think an incandescent light would have been better. But I mean, it's lovely quality. I mean, here's the stem part of the lamppost, and again, they haven't skimped on the quality. This is solid machined brass. We need to run the wires down the post there into the pedestal, and again, the pedestal, this has got quite some weight to it. It's a friction fit, I think. There's no screw there, but it's solid brass. It's a wonderful piece. Now, if you ever wondered, when you look at lampposts, old-fashioned lampposts, you've got these 2 stays here. coming out of the post. You wonder what they were for. Well, that would be to support your ladder. If you were an engineer and it was your job to maintain these lights and change the bulbs, etc., you would need somewhere to put your ladder, and that's what they were for. But yeah, what a lovely piece. They really could have skimped and made it out of plastic like well, ESCO would have done, but they've made that in solid brass. Really, really nice. Okay, I think what I need to do now is we need to start the construction. And what I'm going to do, because I don't want this video to go on for hours, is I will speed it up. And if you want to follow it at a slower pace, if you go down to the little cog icon on the corner of the video and you click on that, you can slow it down all the way down to 0.25, and that will make the video longer, and that will show it at a different pace. But anyway, let's get on with the construction. If there is any problems or any technical parts, I will slow down or stop the time motion and I'll explain them. But yeah, what a lovely kit. Really, really excited, looking forward to putting this together and running it. Before we get started, let's have a quick look at the standard toolkit they send you. I always like to try and use the tools that they provide. There's a chance that you're probably going to use your own, but not everybody has a comprehensive toolkit. So everything is provided in a little plastic box. And we've got a plastic bag here. So firstly, we've got a very simple pair of tweezers to help with the smaller nuts. Also, when the engine's running, this can be used for the steam regulator or throttle, if you like. Do have a very nice, again, brushed laser cut stainless steel little wrench here. So yeah, I think we'll try and use this. Looks to be reasonable quality. And then we've got the obligatory Allen key wrenches in here, if I can get them out. I think there's 3 of them. Again, these look reasonable quality. You might want to use your own. These should be absolutely fine. And then we've got all of the various nuts and bolts and brass fittings themselves. Now, the only thing I'm going to say with Engin DIY shop, when I've done the models before, they haven't provided any spares. So if you do drop a little nut or a little bolt, you're going to be in trouble. So you're going to have to be very, very careful. There are 100 components to put together. So it's quite fine work. What I tend to use is one of these little screw pads. These are very lightly magnetic, not enough to conduct the magnetism to the part, but as you can see, they're enough to hold nuts and bolts in place. And I tend to use these and put my nuts on these. I just can't stand it if you drop one of these on the floor, especially if you've got laminate flooring like I have, because they bounce and go all over the place. But yeah, very, very nice. Again, stainless steel here, stainless steel nuts and bolts, silicon tubing. Yeah, I'm going to say that's a bit of a... I'm going to criticise on that actually, because with ESCO kits and Mammoth, they tend to use rigid chromium plated steel steam lines. We've gone for silicon here, which will make the kit easier to construct. Aesthetically though, is it going to look as good as maybe brass or chromium plated steel lines? No, probably not. So I would have preferred that to have been in solid lines here. And then we have some ball bearings here, race ball bearings, and I assume that's the main shaft. Again, very, very nice quality. Brilliant. I'm going to thoroughly enjoy this. Right, okay. We're just going to install the 3 main shaft ball bearing races here. Hopefully you can see that they've got like a little collar on the outside edge of the race, so it'll only go in one way. I'm just going to put a very small amount of oil straight into the bearings here. You need to oil the model every time you run it, of course, but I'm going to make sure that they do not run dry. There we go, just a very thin. So next we have to work out the Stephenson's link, and then we have to insert the spore valve or spore valves into the cylinder block. I'm going to use a little bit of oil on this as well, just to I'll put it in. I just don't like the idea of running this dry. It doesn't say that in the instructions, it's just my way my mind works. So that just very carefully slides in there. It's going to be a slightly friction fit because obviously there's going to be compression on that, and that goes in, and then then we've got to work out this linkage. It's just getting slightly complicated now before we put in the main shaft to hold this all together. So now we come to the main shaft assembly. As you can see, the shaft here has a flat edge, and I've got to put the flywheel, which is quite light. It feels like it's aluminium or aluminum. And then there's 4 little grub screws that I need to all line up on the flat edge of the bar and tighten up. And you can see them hopefully on camera here, just off camera there you go. So we've got 3 little black ones here. Again, this is where your magnetic pad comes in handy. You don't want to lose those because you don't get any spares. And then everything's going to go through here, and then we've got little holes in the eccentric here. You maybe just can't see that just off camera, and that's where everything is going to clamp onto the main shaft. So let me just go ahead and do that. Right, I'm not going to lie to you, this bit is a bit tricky. I've got to get this shaft through with the flat edge, and then I've got to line up all of the grub locking screws there on the eccentrics to make sure that the engine timing is correct. But it's quite tough actually. We've met a little bit of resistance coming through onto the second set of main bearings, so I'm going to have to just put a little bit of pressure on it, which I don't like doing, to be perfectly honest. But oh, and there we go. I've just shot the main bearing out of the casing. I'm not so sure in hindsight whether I should have oiled these. They are a very tight friction fit. I think maybe they would have been better to have been left. That might have been a mistake on my behalf. So. Because now they're a little bit loose, so I just need to get the bearing back in. Yeah, a little tricky this. So you must make sure you get all of those grub screws lined up, otherwise the timing will be completely out. What I've had to do, which is how I felt it should have been all along, I've loosened up the mounting screws here, or bolts I should say, just to allow this a little bit of wiggle room to get this ball bearing race back in. There we go. And then what I can do, when I've got this all timed up, I can then tighten this down. There is a little split there in the casing. I think that just allows a little bit of wiggle room. But anyway, I've got the shaft in. I just now need to line everything up. Otherwise the engine will never work. Okay, there you go. That was a little fiddly, but hopefully you can see now we've got all 3 of those screw holes all lined up on the main shaft. Just need to tighten down the bearing carrier part there. So that's the flywheel, the Stephenson's link and the cylinder assembly complete. At this stage I've just gone round and I've just put a little tiny drop of oil on all of the bearing surfaces, all of the moving components. You need to do that every time that you run the engine itself. I haven't quite worked out the lever here, which way is forward and back. But what I want to do at this stage is I just want to rotate the engine now, just to make sure that there's no resistance or that the engine doesn't lock before we put it under steam. You can feel the compression just there. I've got the bleed valves open as well. There is a very small nut there, I don't know if you can see that, on the conrod for the piston. So you can adjust the travel of the piston if you do get some interference. But to me, that feels very, very smooth. And that's it for the wiring. Criticisms? Well, yeah, I think you need a little bit of wiring management. I know I've got this terminal block round the wrong way, but as you've got these spare threads there, it'd be nice if they could have maybe put in a couple of wire clips or something to secure these wires down. I mean, you could just put a few little cable ties to hold everything in place. but yeah, they're slightly long. So it would have been nice maybe if they'd have done a little bit of cable management. Okay, but that's fine. So I think that's all the electrics done, and I think I'm pretty much there. I just need to check the instructions. Just a few more bits to do. So firstly, the steam feed from the boiler goes on here, and this is why I say you got these silicon pipes. But, you know, I think it would have been lovely if they could have somehow provided a copper pipe from there to there. Something you could maybe do yourself, but you'd have to solder it on. I mean, the silicon's fine and it will work, but as the rest of the kit is such high quality, it just seems a little bit of a kind of a cheap out to me, if that makes sense. The only advantage is you will be able to see the steam coming through the pipe. But there it is, that's the feed. We also have a length of pipe provided for the exhaust, which will go on there. Now obviously what's going to happen is you're going to put steam oil, which is a very thick oil, in this reservoir, and that will mix with the hot steam as it goes into the cylinder head, and then coming out of the exhaust there, it's going to be a mixture of steam, condensation and oil. So it's going to be kind of an emulsion. It'll be a white gooey mess, and that's going to come out of this pipe, and then we'll need to, they don't supply you with any reservoir or something. I mean, I suppose you could use this plastic little pot. I think I probably will actually, and then that will capture the water. You shouldn't get too much, but typical runtime 10 or 15 minutes you will get a little bit of yucky water. Once again, this little burner, these little elements or wicks here, they're all stainless steel. Hopefully you can see that if I bring in close. Yeah, can you see that? Look at that. So these are all stainless steel. This is very high quality. With the Mamod early models like the Roadster and the steam engines that used methylated spirits, you can pay up to £30 or £40 used for a little spirit burner. And this one is very nicely made. Once again, it's all brushed, laser cut stainless steel. Right, it was just a little bit of brute force needed just to push those into the holder there. First bit of brute force that I've needed, to be perfectly honest, but I think that's how it goes. Then that sits in the reservoir like so. Slightly bent that, unfortunately, trying to force it, but I guess it goes, there you go, it's bent back. And I think that's how it goes. Let's get the engine in and see how that fits under the boiler. That just going to slide in there, drop into the pan, just like that. Yeah, that seems to work really, really well. Let's clear the bench a little bit, and then we can have a look at the model in more detail. And that's it, it's fully built. I've got to say, I'm just blown away with the quality of this. It's by far the highest quality model that I've ever owned. It's just so much more than the Bolesco and Mammoth models that I've built before. Really, really nice. Now, when it comes down to the amount of time it takes to build the model, it's so difficult for me to estimate, because obviously I've been starting the camera. I took a break for a long lunch. I would say that if you do it in one session, you're probably looking at maybe a couple of hours. And I think I'd give yourself an afternoon or a whole morning. You've got to be very careful when you put the Stephenson's link together here with the eccentrics and the flywheel. You've got to make sure these are all lined up, and you don't want to bend anything. So yeah, give yourself plenty of time, but I'm absolutely made up with it. I think it's beautiful, and you could just keep this really as a display piece. Personally, it's a steam engine. I think they need to be run on steam. A lot of people would just connect an air line to this safety valve here, and they would run it on air. Personally, I want to see it running on steam. I want to smell the hot steam and the hot steam oil. That's not going to be on this video, I'm afraid. I think we've gone as far as we can on this video. That will be on the next video on this particular engine. make sure that you're subscribed and you've got that bell notification on, and then as soon as I upload a new video, you will know straight away. Yeah, absolutely made up with it. Really, really nice piece of kit. Anyway, as always, thank you very much for tuning in. If you're interested in this engine or other Engin DIY or Engin DIY shop models, there'll be a link in the description. Just go away and check out their website, guys. Have a little browse. Have a little dream. It's absolutely wonderful what they do. Amazing. Anyway, look out for the next video. As always, cheers. There's the thumbs up from Freddy in the Shed. If you get a second, hit me a thumbs up down below. Would appreciate it. But please, please, please look after each other. Stay safe. Catch you on the next one. Cheers, guys.